Good afternoon. Before we begin this afternoon, as is customary with events of this size, it is mandatory to read the following emergency protocol statement. In an effort to ensure everyone's safety in case of an emergency, please take notice of the emergency exits located at both the front and rear of the auditorium. Please note the closest emergency exit to your seating area, and remember that you do not have to exit through the same door in which you entered. To report an emergency, please dial 911. In the event of an emergency, please follow the instructions of emergency personnel and officials at this event. Again, good afternoon and welcome. And for those of you who are alumni, welcome back to Rockville High School and the 6th annual Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I am Scott Smith, Chair of the Hall of Fame Committee, and on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank everyone for being here today as we honor and celebrate the history and accomplishments of the Rockville High School athletics program. Prior to the introduction of our 6th induction class, I would like to introduce the current members of the Hall of Fame who are here with us this afternoon and ask that they line up in front of the stage to take part in our Hall of Fame entrance ceremony. Don Berger, Greg Berger, Steve Emerson, Chris Green, Jim Martello, Diane Schaefer-Smith, Art Wheelock, and Larry Willett. Special round of applause for our Hall of Famers, please. Hall of Fame induction is the highest honor an institution can bestow upon any individual, and we are very pleased to be able to add 7 extremely worthy names to our Hall of Fame roster this afternoon. At this time, I would like to introduce to you the members of the 6th induction class of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame and their presenters for this afternoon's program. Our first inductee being presented by his former classmate, Todd St. Louis, from the class of 1983, Thomas D. Kirby. Our second inductee being presented by her former RHS basketball coach, Hall of Famer Jim Martello, from the class of 1997, Amanda R. Deviney McNamara. Our third inductee being presented by her former RHS softball coach, Diana Pepin, from the class of 1999, Rachel A. Met. Our fourth inductee being presented by his former RHS hockey coach, Tom Quino, from the class of 1995, Keith W. Millen. Our fifth inductee being presented by his former RHS teammate Tim Fay, from the class of 1962, Stanley L. Skip Olander. Our sixth inductee, being presented by his father, Richard Rembus, from the class of 1994, Stephen R. Rembus. And our seventh inductee, being presented by his former RHS track coach, Jim Balcom, from the class of 1980, John W. Ward III. Ladies and gentlemen, the 7 members of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2018. And now we have a few special guests with us this afternoon who would like to share a few remarks. And we will begin with the mayor of the town of Vernon from the class of 1988, Daniel A. Champagne.
First, I want to thank Scott and the rest of the board for inviting me every year to come up and say a few words. Let's roll this off the stage. No. But, you know, what an honor to be part of this every single year and to honor those who participated in the sports here at Rockville High School. My classmates, I believe, have one, right? 88? No, not 88. My eyes. Sitting back there and I thought it said 88. Wait, I don't recognize it. But I do today. You know, it's funny, the older we get, you know, we still think we can do sports. And I know everybody sitting in here, including those that have already been inducted, you know, we see things like, yeah, we can do that. And then we try it and we're like, no, we can't. So I had to use the ramp. That's why I said a little further back, because that's what happened to me this summer. You know, when we were kids, we could run, we could do everything, and then we get a little older. 1 year away from 50, so I keep telling my wife, who's already at 50, that no, I can do that. And every time she says, Dan, don't do that. But she always does it like this. Dan, don't do that. Because she knows that we're going to try it. You know, it's funny, but really, I just want to welcome everybody. I want to congratulate those who are being inducted today. And I know we expanded the display out inside the gym, did we not? Excellent. So we can keep going for years, many years to come. But thanks again, and thank you for letting me be part of this.
Thank you, Mayor Champagne. Next, I would like to invite to the podium the Superintendent of Schools for the town of Vernon, Dr. Joseph McCary.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Vernon Public Schools, I'd like to welcome everyone in here this afternoon. Welcome back to Rockville High School. First of all, to the Hall of Fame Committee, this is one of the best events we have all year. It brings back the community, brings back alumni, it puts together athletics back to Rockville High School. So I want to thank you, Scott, and the Hall of Fame Committee for their hard work in putting this event together. To the honorees, welcome. Welcome back to Rockville High School. the accomplishments that you have done both on and off the field become a part of the fabric of our community and our culture here at Rockville High School. And for that, we say thank you and we appreciate it. Enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. McCary. And now a warm welcome to the new athletic director of Rockville High School, Mr. Jeffrey Farrell.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I just want to thank Mr. Smith and the committee just for inviting me here today. I'm very honored to be here. To the recipients today, congratulations. I was out there reading all the accomplishments and very, very impressive, and I'm just humbled and honored to be a part of it. You guys all know that I'm pretty new. I started in July, and when I was offered the position at the end of last school year, I started just telling people, where I was headed and my position here, and I just kept hearing over and over again, there's very, very good people in Vernon, very good people in Rockville. And since I've been here, it's been proven time and again. I've been very lucky and fortunate to work with great teachers, administrators. The coaches here are great, so I'm very happy and excited to be here and just be a part of this community. And as their football team is saying, the motto for this year is to restore the Rock. And I'm going to do my very best in my part to do that and keep this event going for years to come. So thank you very much. Congratulations. We'll get out in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. As it states in the RHS Athletic Hall of Fame bylaws, the purpose of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame is to recognize and honor those former athletes, coaches, and administrators who have distinguished themselves through outstanding contributions to the Rockville High School athletic program. Recognition may be given to these individuals in the form of possible Hall of Fame induction or consideration for the more recently established John R. Williams, Jr. Exceptional Service Award, given in honor of the longtime RHS teacher and athletic faculty manager, John Williams. The Hall of Fame committee uses every means necessary to assemble an appropriate list of names for possible consideration for Hall of Fame induction, as well as for the Williams Exceptional Service Award. The most difficult obstacle facing the committee is there is no longer an archive of accomplishments or statistics available here at the high school. All information obtained by the committee has either been researched by our dedicated committee members or been provided by the many former administrators, coaches, athletes, and community members to whom the Rockville High School athletic program has meant so much. The Hall of Fame committee is always looking for individuals to serve on the committee, and we are especially looking for information in regard to worthy individuals who fit either the Hall of Fame or Williams Exceptional Service Award criteria. If you have any further questions in regard to the Hall of Fame and its process, please check out the frequently asked questions section in your induction program. For those who might be willing to help us by providing names, information, or even joining the committee, please reach out to one of the committee members listed also in your induction program. We are very proud to announce that the RHS Athletic Hall of Fame is now a 501c3 nonprofit organization based on being a subsidiary of the Rams Sports Booster Club. Please notice in the induction program those that have donated towards our program, and those of you that have donated will be receiving your official receipts from the 501c3 in the coming weeks. Thank you very much for your contributions. The next time you visit RHS, please be sure to visit the Hall of Fame's permanent display, which is located in the foyer outside of the main entrance to the gymnasium. Individual picture plaques representing all 45 of our current Hall of Famers, as well as large framed photos of each induction class, are prominently displayed. Later this winter, the display area will be expanding once again to allow for the inclusion of the John R. Williams Jr. Exceptional Service Awards permanent display. These displays will forever serve as a reminder of the history and tradition of Rockville athletics, and should help to inspire the athletes of today to one day have their own plaque hanging on that wall. Finally, on behalf of the Hall of Fame committee, I would like to thank all of you for spending your afternoon with us and for your ongoing support of the Rockville Athletics Hall of Fame and Rockville athletics in general. Thank you very much. And now I am pleased to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for all 6 of our RHS Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, longtime teacher and coach of the cross country and track and field teams here at RHS, Mr. David Smith.
Thank you, Smitty. Wonderful to be here. A big welcome. Congratulations to the class. Thank you, Mr. Champagne, Aaron Burton, Gary, Jeff Merrill. It's great to have you all with us this evening. In the years we have been inducting into the Hall of Fame, I've seen a remarkable collection. This year's inductees certainly bear that to stand alongside of those. The committee is a special welcome to the company. It's spotlight all the means of glory. Visit them. We have come to the point at which our new inductees join their teammates, coaches, committee, so that now it's taken on the field all together too. For the athletes, I know the season's end, times change, budgets, things, lives, relationships, participation in high school sports and carved out those personal things. Best you can be. Spirit, esteemed colleagues, to expand. Congratulations. So, let's get started. I'd like to welcome to the stage Ms. Dee Pretty, Scott's Mr. Thomas. First inductee is a 1983 graduate, two-sport athlete, who has been all CBC. Salutations and virtue, baby show us all. basketball, he served as team captain. Set an amazing example by leading his team.
Good afternoon. Today it's my honor to say a few words about Hall of Fame inductee Tom Kirby. Tom and I have been friends since we were very young. I don't actually remember meeting Tom. It was likely on the walk back and forth to Maple Street School. Tom and I grew up in a different age and time. It was okay to let your first grader walk to school. It was only a few blocks away and there was crossing guards. It was okay to let your child go out after school and play, so long as they were back by supper. Tom and I, along with all the neighborhood kids, took full advantage of this personal freedom. We built tree forts in the woods, went sledding down the steep hills in the neighborhood, picked berries, rode bikes for miles on the railroad tracks, now known as the rails trails, jumped in the town sand pit, and walked down to Lance's corner store for penny candy. But mostly what we did was play sports. There was lots of boys of all ages in our neighborhood. We played football in the Dogwood side yard, basketball at the Satrop house, baseball and wiffle ball in the field behind Tom Kirby's house, and tennis on the courts of the apartment houses in the area. Tom was always keen gathering up the kids, choosing sides, and keeping the games fair. If there was a lot of younger kids playing, Tom would bat righty or one-handed or even throw with his left hand to make the teams fair. Tom always played fair. Even as kids, it was obvious that Tom was the best athlete in the group. He could swat your basketball shot, but he didn't. Well, every once in a while, this is really good. He would dive to make a tackle, but if he was playing linebacker and he met you in the middle of the field, he would just wrap you up and play would be over. He never put full force into his tackles. If he did, it would have really hurt. If things got heated or over a hard tackle or a cheap foul, Tom was the guy everyone automatically turned to for an official ruling, and the game played on. When it rained or it was too cold to go outside, we would play at Tom's house. Tom's mom and dad were always very kind and welcoming. We played NFL strategy board games, Stratomatic baseball, Nerf basketball, stickball, and Tom's baseball. Tom's love of sports and the strategies behind the game were always important to him, even at a very young age. When we got to middle school and our circle of friends grew, Tom would organize football and baseball games with kids from other neighborhoods. We would play games against teams from Village Street, Regent Field, and Henry Park. Those games were always very competitive. Even then, Tom was unofficially in charge. He didn't demand to be, he didn't choose to be, he just was. And it wasn't because he was the best athlete on the field, which he was. It was because he was always calm and always fair. And even though we were just kids, we all respected us. When Tom reached high school, he got involved with Rockville High athletic programs, and our youthful days of sandlot sports came to an end. But Tom's athletic career was just about to take off. It is now my pleasure to present Tom Kirby for induction into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Hall of Fame committee, Hall of Fame members, inductees, family, friends. It's important. Thank you very much. You know, Todd talked about it. We're Rockville. Todd grew up on 9th Street. I grew up on West Street. You know, there's just a lot of kids who play with back in those days. You know, we had basketball hoops, we played at the 10-foot hoops, we played at the 9-foot hoops, we played at the 8-foot hoops. If we played at the 8-foot hoops, personally, I was batting you. You weren't getting in the middle and you weren't dunking on it. A lot of hard fouls. So we had fun. We learned to play the game. And I think about basketball, baseball, a couple of lessons. You know, me and the eldest, I was a left-handed batter, and we used to go on the tennis courts in the back of the house. And the other kids would bat righty, and I'd bat lefty. And you think about how things work for you long-term when you work hard at them. It taught me how to hit the ball the opposite way. It's a great strategy in using all fields in baseball. You got to be able to hit pitches all over the place. So it was a great opportunity for me as a kid. You know, development comes at different times in people's lives. For me, my junior year in high school, I was kind of ready-made. It was a changeover team my junior year. Basketball, Doug Domian was a star, so I just got to come in and play the game. And we played a ton. I played a ton of basketball at Henry Park and really loved it. So it wasn't a job, it was something that I loved. So for playing basketball my junior year, it worked. My junior year in baseball, you learn not to throw fastballs. So, you know, I was a little bit unheralded at that point. I came in with a good class of kids, and we were good. And I wasn't separated from my peers at that time, but, you know, things progressed, and I had a very good season in baseball. Probably the most important thing that happened to me in my junior year in high school was that I had a chemistry class. And that chemistry class was critical for me because I got 104 on the midterm exam. And at that time, that wasn't part of who I was. My father was sick. He had Hodgkin's disease back then. He was only 38 years old, which really changes your thought process on things as you're 53 now. So you look at things and you knew you had to buckle in. And what that class told me was that if I studied and I did my work, that I could do it. I wasn't stupid. I just didn't put in the time and effort that's necessary. And it's part of the maturation process. Very important. So my junior year, when I've been thinking about this, probably that was the most significant thing in my junior year. My senior year, I learned about different things. Number one, expectations. That was the first time where if they were devising a game plan in basketball or talking about baseball, I was the focal point, and that's different. That's a harder thing to adjust to when all of a sudden you were the focal point. Being captain in both sports, even with Todd saying this, I've always been the organizer and the planner, but being a captain was different, captain amongst your peers, and it's really interesting how it sets you up. And when I look at it, those were two very important things, was how to deal with expectations, because your expectations in life only grow. Leadership, how do we deal with leadership? And it's true, you know, I end up being the person that people look to an awful lot of times to get things done, and it works. One thing from my senior year, it's amazing the stories that you tell as you get older. Mr. Oliphant, college English teacher, had on his board the Tippy Top Club. There you go. He had the Tippy Top Club. And I used to look up on that Tippy Top Club. English was not my best subject. And I would get up there and I would look at the National Honor Society students that were up there. And being competitive, and that was one of the things that I did, was I took my competition in sports to the classroom as I matured, and I just said to myself, I'm going to get my name on that board. And Lord knows I did. Todd was actually in that first period college English class, and those are things that you look back at, some of those development stages. My wife is here, my daughter Morgan's in college, my sons Matt and Josh are here, I thank you both. My mom's right here, by far the greatest supporter I've ever had. My dad, I miss him a ton, he was my coach of coaches. Taught me how to play, and if he had a recommendation, I listened. So I've had a blessed life, and it's all part of where you start. The end of high school is just the beginning, not the end. So I thank you for this award. It's special.
At this time, I would like to invite Amanda Davini McNamara and Mr. Jim Martello to the stage, please. Our next inductee is a 1997 graduate of RHS, a 5-sport athlete, a 2-sport all-state athlete, and at the time she graduated, was women's basketball's all-time leading scorer. Not that Mandy ever made a habit out of covering things close, or ever did things with a lot of drama. She became the women's basketball all-time leading scorer with her last shot of the year. 10 seconds. To cap off her senior season, the Hartford Current named her to the Class AA All-State second team in basketball, and she earned All-State honors in Class L in track and field. On the court, she was an integral part of the team's 4 straight tournament appearances. She was named All-CCC East 3 times. During the season she started, RHS went 44-12. Clearly, pure shooter. This afternoon, she joins 2 other Hall of Famers, Betsy Anderson and Sarah Turkington, as Rockville's only 1,000 seniors. During her junior and senior years, Mandy was a leading point getter on the track and field team, specializing in throws and jumps. Because of her contribution, it was suggested that it should be called the field and track team. The idea never stuck. As a senior, she earned team-leading 82 points and was named to all CCC East. We are now to present Amanda Davini McNamara as a basketball coach, charter member of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Jim Martello. Jim.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. Taller. I'll have to be a little louder and closer to me. Mr. Smith, I want to make just a little addition to your notes that she is our 4th 1,000 point scorer, Mandy is, including Kim Jackal, and she's our 4th Hall of Famer. Let me be one of the early ones to add my personal congratulations to the 2018 inductees of RHS Athletic Hall of Fame. This exceptional crowd here today is for you, and it is certainly deserving. It is my pleasure today to present Amanda Davini McNamara. I hope you've had the opportunity to see Mandy's display table in the lobby, and you've just heard her introduction about her many track and field, cross-country, and basketball accomplishments. Mandy was honored by her teammates with the label Captain, honored by her opposing coaches with the label All-Conference, and honored by state coaches with inclusion on several rosters and labeled All-Stater. All those points, all those honors, those all-star teams, however, are quantitative and may not show the quality, character, and enjoyable personality of the girl the mysterious nickname Moochie. Now, until the quarter outside beforehand, I never knew the origin of that name, but I'll keep it to myself and you can find out for yourselves. Mandy enjoyed the athletic experience so much. Just being around her was fun. To watch her come to practice and see her work with a smile on her face with every member of her team, not just her co-stars. Her dedication to getting better was exemplified by playing AAU basketball several seasons, sometimes all year, and striving to excel at the individual sports of track and field and cross country. Her leadership by example, her unselfishness, her enthusiasm in any close or blowout game were all trademarks of her career. But her humility in the face of a reporter, or honors, and her never-ending bond with her sister Jen, her teammate 1 year at Rockville, and her brother Kyle, came from a set of values that was developed in a quality family. Mandy is a player who gave her coaches such a sense of enjoyment. Coaching her was usually stress-free, always fun, and sometimes even funny. No one would work harder in practice or drills or have more fun doing it. As you can tell, I'm very proud of Mandy and her honor today. She's an awesome reflection on her family, her school, cross-country track, and Rockville High School girls basketball programs. It is no wonder that she was the highest point scorer for the track team as a senior, only her second season. It's no wonder that she was the highest point scorer over the first 20 years of Rockville girls basketball. And no wonder that she was one of several full scholarship athletes coming out of Rockville, Mandy attending and playing basketball at Merrimack College in North Andover, Massachusetts. The most remarkable thing is that she's even a better person than she was a player. Okay. Mandy is not only identified by her athletic talents and accomplishments at Rockville and Merrimack, she is identified by the kind, grounded, cheerful spirit that she was and remains today. Mandy, I will always look forward to your, hi coach, whenever I see you. And I hope Gail, Jenny, and I will continue to be counted among friends to you, Jesselyn, and your adorable girls. It is my great pleasure to proudly present Amanda Davini McNamara for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
I didn't cry yet. Thank you so much. I want to first thank the committee for nominating me and selecting me. I'm honored to be part of this really great group of 2018 inductees. A lot of the names I knew some of you, but you all have a really great reputation, and the ones that are already in, I'm really excited to be here next year and welcome others. So I also want to thank my Mandy people that are here and all the other people. I have some teammates that have really become friends, my family, my Zoe and Myra that are here, and Jesselyn. So I want to thank everyone. It really is an honor to be up here. So before I get into my heart and soul, which has been basketball through the years, I just want to talk about cross country and track. And before that, it was actually a little bit of softball and a little bit of volleyball. And why I want to bring that up is I think it was neat that Rockville gave that opportunity to try a lot of different things. I kind of didn't find my niche until a little bit later, but it was track, and it was one of those sports that I didn't know. I had the luck of having Mr. White kind of sample a lot of different things with me, but it's a lesson that I've taken with me when I work and do other things, is just to be able to try something new, make mistakes, stumble, and still be successful. So that's kind of my experience with track. With cross country, I was sort of just following my sister's footsteps. She did cross country to stay in shape, and I thought it was a good idea, and my younger brother Kyle did it. It really prepared me mentally for, I think, different stages in life. Just being able to be out there with Mr. Garrity following you around. He was like a ghost. He would just appear at different spots and tell you to run faster, and you need to beat Manchester or whatever it was. So those are two sports that really supplemented who I was as a person and lessons I carried with me. So just taking you a trip down memory lane, my love of basketball started very early on. Usually on weekends, I remember being out there with my family, and even my mom, who didn't love it as much as the rest of us, would just be out there. We'd play different games, around the world or 21, and my dad thought it was pretty important that by age 8 you had a left-handed hook shot. So we had to make sure we could do the left-handed hook shot. When you play pig, he's like, let's start with this one. So we all have sort of a left-handed hook shot. I want to thank my dad, who really introduced me. He brought me to my first Celtics game when they used to play at the Hartford Civic Center with Jim Ludica, and I saw Kevin McHale, and he was kind of the theme that followed me through my college years. I always wanted to be just like Kevin McHale in the way he played and sort of outsmarted his opponents. I want to thank my brother. He was never my teammate. We never played really on a team together, maybe when we were 4, but he was my teammate at the park. We probably ran into Tom Kirby a few times and said, hey, can we get in? He was that player that he taught me how to be a teammate. I could just find him. We knew each other. We read each other really well. My sister, who was my captain, my leader, we did have the pleasure of playing together. And I did see number 33, and even one coach would say, there's other players out there. I was looking at Jen. She taught me a lot about being a player. She was a really tough player. She was an emotional player, and I think what she taught me is being emotional and passionate can also make you a strong person. So I want to thank Jenny. And I want to thank my mom. My mom knew we were all getting into basketball. That woman read the playbook. I mean, she read the playbook, she read the rule book, she knew everything, and she just supported us. And if I was doing basket weaving, my mom would have been there to support me. So I hope as a mom, that's something that I can carry forward. So just to talk a little bit, a few memories that Coach might have alluded to, but I'll give the real stories. Coach had some rules, and between Coach Martello and Argenta, they gave us a good structure. I think there's a lot of teams that had similar skill sets, but I think what they did is they gave us that right structure. They thought of us as people, students, and then athletes, and that really creates a good team. But he did have rules, and one of them was we had white uniforms, and sorry if this is inappropriate, but no colorful sports bras. So we're like, okay, no sports bras, but on Valentine's Day one year, a bunch of us got heart underwear, which was very cute, I thought, and we're like, get down on our knees, and Coach, I don't know if he thought it was funny as we thought it was. Another thing that I always remember is we'd have pasta dinners at my parents' house and all the different houses, and over the years, I think as we were getting more and more athletic, we could eat. So my mom, the first few years, I think she made 50 stuffed shells, and by the end, my mom's whipping them out, calling neighbors, we got to make 175 stuffed shells, and it's just something that I've always thought of when I think of the team. And my last memory I want to share from my time at RHS was that last shot. I remember I didn't know going in that I was close to the record. Coach brought us all in and we huddled, and what my college coach would say is I look like a deer in headlights. I was like, oh my God, now I have to make a layup, and I don't know if I can do it, but I had my team there, and I looked around the room, and I looked at my coaches, and I looked at the stands, and I had people there. It's not that I wasn't nervous, it was just that I was able to overcome it. I feel like I don't remember it because when I look at the video, that part was a little choppy, but I felt like the C's part and even the opponents kind of wanted to get me there. So it was a really good memory, something that I'll always keep with me, and it was really the whole team and our whole community kind of making that shot. And I'm happy to say that it was beat a few years later, I believe by Kim, which was a great thing. So thank you so much. I hope I didn't go over my time. I'm really honored to be here. I was welcomed into Merrimack College, so my teammates from Merrimack are here, and it was a great place to be, and it was the same sense of community. So I want to, thank everybody, and again, I'm honored. I'm, a Ram for life, so thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much. At this time, I would like to invite Rachel Neff up into the stage. Our next inductee is a 1999 graduate of RHS, a two-sport athlete, one whose career here can truly be called amazing. During the fall season, she made important contributions to our soccer program and may not be available. It was her accomplishments during her 4 seasons as a pitcher on the softball team that earned her a place in the league. She's officially listed at 5'4", but she stands tall and casts a very long shadow here in this hall. During 4 years of intimidating battles all across the state, consider about 12 no-hitters, about 4 perfect games, about 582 strikeouts. From a team perspective, during her 4 years here, the RHS softball team compiled 60 and 21 one-loss record, and raised 3 straight conference titles, and qualified for the state tournament all 4 years. So now here to present Rachel Neff as her softball coach.
First, I'd want to say congratulations to all the recipients that are honored today and to the induction to the Rockville Hall of Fame. It is an honor and a privilege to present to you Rachel Neff into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. As her softball coach back in the day, I remember Rachel always striving to be better, to make her teammates better. I have coached many athletes, and Rachel is by far one of those kids that always left it all on the field. She was determined and competitive. So you want to come back? You have eligibility left? Because I really could use a pitcher with some gusto. So as a freshman, she was a little shy, reserved, but once she got on the mound, she attacked the strike zone. Each year she improved and dominated the CC's conference. Winning was a byproduct of her practice mentality. She would go up and go through her workout with her catcher, Izzy, who was really a jokester. Izzy would be joking around and Rachel would chuckle a little bit, like no one saw her. And then she would say, "Izzy, knock it off. You got to get back to work." Rachel was a fierce competitor, hence her 12 no-hitters and over 500 strikeouts. As her coach, I knew we had a special athlete, one that would give the shirt off her back to a teammate, one who would let the team ride on her back as well. I never had to push her to work hard. She did that all on her own. She was very self-disciplined. Her teammates were her biggest fans. They would sprint, sprawl, dive to make a play behind her. Rachel came in with a very special group, and she knew what it took to win. I remember our first CC's championship on the home field. Right over here, it looks exactly the same. So that was in '96, right? So hopefully you guys get a little update, but anyway. I remember winning and celebrating after the game, and both Rachel and Izzy jumped on me, knocked me to the ground. They picked me up and said, "Sorry, coach," and continued to run and celebrate with their teammates. After many victories and championships, I know Rachel would say it was all because of her team, and she couldn't have done it without them. Rachel also had a great support system in her family. Her dad, Richard Math, and her mom were always there. Her dad sometimes trying to call pitches, but mostly just yelling at the umpires. And her mom was always there, sitting in the stands, making sure she was hydrated and warm and ready to go. Rachel had an amazing high school career. She went on to Ithaca and played for a national caliber team. With a lot of wins and few losses, it was due to her work ethic, her determination, and her skill level. She always wanted to go after anything she put her mind to. I believe today she is living life the same way and loving life. It is my honor now and pleasure to present Rachel Math for induction into the Rockville High School Hall.
Thank you all so much. I've been an English teacher for 15 years, so I have this speech handwritten on some yellow paper up here. And my friend Ben, sitting in the audience here, asked me, "Are you going to make any jokes?" And I said, well, my name in and of itself is probably the funniest, and I'm glad that, when you look at my board outside with all my headlines, it's a good thing Breaking Bad hadn't come out yet. Who knows? But anyways, when you hear my speech, it comes very much from the heart. And over the years, softball was so much to me, and the people in my life that contributed to this career, it's just changed who I am, and having this opportunity to really reflect on that has been beautiful. So I just wanted to thank all of the committee members and Smitty and Bob Malta for all the emails. I'm out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so it was a little harder to get everything here, but I'm so grateful for everyone. I know it's a lot of work to put an event like this together, so thank you to everyone. It's such a sweet homecoming. I haven't been back to RHS or Connecticut for a very long time, and it's just lovely to be here. So when I think back on my 4 years at Rockville High School, the most wonderful memories flood into my mind, and playing softball is one of the sweetest. Although much time has passed between then and now, I can still remember the anticipation I would feel as winter gave way to spring and softball season drew near. I can still feel the nostalgic joy of wet cleats in the grass and mud after the spring rains, the distinct and familiar feel of the softball seams on my fingertips, and the loud, satisfying clap of a fastball hitting my catcher's glove for strike 3. These are all such visceral memories that are stored in the happy cells of my body. I could close my eyes anywhere in the world and be transported back to standing on the mound of the softball diamond right outside this building, surrounded by my coaches, family, friends, and community members.
I can still feel that rush of confidence, excitement, and empowerment running through my veins. I would like to briefly share some of the most powerful and embodied lessons that I learned from my softball and pitching days at RHS that have stayed with me throughout my life. I learned the incredible capacity of the human body, heart, and spirit, the power of positive guidance and support from coaches, families, and friends, the potency of team and community, and how creating these bonds and connections translates into how we exist in the world and our positive, caring, and interdependent relationships with others. The sense of empowerment, commitment, and mind-body awareness that are cultivated when you train the body and mind so specifically, diligently, and passionately to learn an athletic skill that requires such precision and focus. The sympathetic joy, exuberance, and camaraderie that arise from a shared success. The pain, empathy, and resilience that come from a shared failure, along with the knowledge that everything is okay because you are not alone in your loss, you will learn from your mistakes, and you will become stronger. The essential practices of self-love, self-kindness, and self-forgiveness that grow from this realization that we are all beautifully human and imperfect, and always exactly where we need to be in our lives to learn and develop in our own unique ways. The power of living life with positive intentions and an optimistic attitude. And coming from someone that now teaches meditation, and just like each pitch, each breath is a new beginning. All of these life lessons that I learned throughout the game of softball and the art of pitching have left such a large imprint on the person I am today, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to reflect upon and share these lessons and experiences with all of you. I want to thank everyone who has been a part of my softball journey, from my amazing high school coach, Coach Pepin, all of my high school teammates, including Jess Mullen, who is no longer with us, but here in spirit. My incredible friends who always supported me, some of whom are sitting in this room after 20 years of friendship, so Ben, Dave, and Gerton. And finally, my loving parents who are also here, who have always been so supportive and amazing human beings and just the greatest role models and examples of how to be love and kind people. And I would also like to give a special shout out to my father, who helped coach all of my softball teams from the time I was a child, who always supported my growth as a pitcher, and who took endless fastballs to the shins while sitting on a bucket diligently cheering me on while I was learning how to pitch. Thank you, Dad. Thank you to everyone. This is such an amazing honor, and I am filled with the deepest joy, grace, and humility to receive this induction.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to invite Keith Millen and Coach Quino to the stage, please. Our next inductee is a 1995 graduate. Jess, a peak sport athlete, that should be noted in the society. Clearly an outstanding athlete in both sports. It's kind of idle to debate which sport he excelled in more, so let's not put question enters on his career here. During his 4 years on the ice for RHS, he served as team captain in both his junior and senior seasons. Scored 78 goals, recorded 85 assists. As a junior, he earned second team Division II All-State honors. As a senior, he earned first team Division II All-State honors. He was All CC East 3 times. And perhaps most importantly, led his team to the Division II state championship. During the spring season, he would be the 7th inductee from Hall of Fame coach Art Milas during his 6-year career here. During his senior season, he batted .465 and made first team Class L All-State games. For an individual, it's just about good. So now to present Keith Millen as his hockey coach.
I got a call in May of this year, Keith, telling me that he was nominated for the Hall of Fame. He called me quite late. I was kind of asleep. I said, Cooperstown? And then I said, Toronto? And he said, no, Rockville. And he asked me to come here to do this. Took me back because I hadn't been here in quite a long time. It's going to be like almost 25 years. I know I only got 3 minutes, so it's kind of tough to follow a English teacher. I'll do my best. I want to congratulate Keith and thank him for asking me to induct him into the ceremony. I'd also like to congratulate all the inductees, especially Steve Rimbish, one of my former players and fastest skaters. I had met Keith for the first time in the fall of 1991 when he was a freshman and I was a first-year rookie head coach. My first impression of Keith was very positive. He was a quiet and respectful young man. He was one of 2 freshmen that made the team that was made up of mostly upperclassmen and seniors. As a freshman, I had put him through tough game situations with a team full of upperclassmen because he showed me he could handle it. You may remember the time we had after a game. He seemed doubting himself and a little sore. Teams played very physical against us for some reason. He was playing against seniors, and he was right out there, right out of youth hockey. I told him he wouldn't be out there if I didn't believe he could handle it and do the job. That year we started out not much better than they finished the year before. We were 0-3. We rebounded strongly and turned it all around, qualifying for the state tournament for the first time. Keith scored his first tournament goal, a very special goal to me. And it's the one that, when he asked me to do this, came back to my memory. It was a late goal in the first period, and it was reported by the New Haven Register as the big goal that swung the momentum in the Rams' favor. This was one of the biggest comebacks in state tournament history. We were down 6-0 in the first period. We came back and we eventually won that game, and we ended up making it all the way to the semifinals and losing to the eventual champions, New Milford. Keith went on to be a major contributor to 4 successful regular seasons, with 3 state semi-final appearances and 1 final, where he ended his Rockville High Ram career as state champion. I was asked about Keith by the Hartford Current reporter, doing a piece on him in their high school player spotlight. I told the reporter, he's our captain. He works tremendously hard in games and practices. He leads by example, but most importantly, he's a great kid, and he never gives me any lip. The article was done when he was a junior. His excellent work ethic and character is why we're here today. His statistics speak for themselves. He was a 2-year captain. That's a special accomplishment in itself. Hockey has given me so many special memories as a player, as a coach, as a father watching his sons play. I must say that coaching and watching Keith Millen play hockey will always be part of those special hockey memories. It's my pleasure to present Keith Millen for the induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Here we go, public speaking. I was a little surprised to get the phone call from Smitty back in June. I coached JV baseball here for 7 years. My best team was 9-9. I coached assistant hockey coach for 9 years, and our team never made it past the quarterfinals. What, Mom? I didn't get in for coaching? What do you mean? How embarrassing. Where's my nephew, Ryan? Ryan, Coach Ryan, what's my name in your phone? Is it Nasty Coach? Oh, my player's over there. I was fortunate to come through Rockville when I did. Leading up to high school, I saw up and down hockey seasons, mostly down. I can remember in 8th grade being the last player to make my youth hockey team. I used that as motivation to get better. Shooting lead pucks in the basement. Sorry, Mom and Dad, for the foundation damage. Stick handling and playing roller hockey whenever possible. Couldn't wait for my high school experience to start. My time at RHS started with a new coach to the program, Tom Quino. My game benefited from playing for Coach Quino. It wasn't any play he drew up or anything he changed about my playing style. It was one word: confidence. He had confidence in me, and this was evidenced by giving me regular shifts out on the ice. That was all I needed. Something I was missing for the previous 3 seasons of youth hockey. My game took off from there. Took off so much that in the 93-94 season, my line with Steve Rembish, who's here, and Jamie Sutherland combined for over 150 points that season. He used to have to tell us to calm down and practice because we were pretty successful against our own teammates. The success I had that year helped me to make a name for myself going into a highly anticipated senior season. After some early struggles, a 1-5 start, we rattled off 12 wins in our last 14 regular season games. Coach pulled me aside before the state tournament my senior year and told me that some other coaches wanted to vote for me for All-State, but it depended on how I did in the state tournament. Talk about pressure. I scored 2 goals in the first round game. It was 4 overtime. I think I'm still sore from that game. I scored the game winner in the next round in overtime, and we won 2 more games and helped give Rockville their first hockey state championship. Apparently this effort was enough for me to make the all-state team. Funny story coming off of that. Fast forward 6 years and now I'm coaching hockey at RHS. I get invited to the all-state voting meeting, but this voting meeting was done before the state tournament. So all that hard work for nothing. Maybe Coach needed a little white lie to finally get us to end our season with a win. Whatever it works, I guess. My baseball career was totally different growing up. I always had a knack for putting the bat on the ball from an early age. My friends and I would play pickup games and wiffle ball all the time. I was fortunate enough to have an uncle who gave us a pitching machine, so there I was having my 45-year-old mother feeding balls into the pitching machine day after day. Thanks, Mom. Anytime I wasn't happy with my performance, I'd be working in the batting cage the next day. Coach Wheelock was always more intimidating to play for than many coaches, but just like my hockey experience, Coach Wheelock had confidence in me starting my sophomore year. I batted either first or second in the lineup every game for 3 years. Having Coach's confidence allowed me to play more relaxed, especially as a 10th grader. I never felt overwhelmed or overmatched playing baseball, thanks to the way Coach Wheelock treated me on the field. I have great memories of playing 2 sports at RHS, made great friends, played with some great athletes, and played for 2 great coaches. To my own 3 boys, who always said, "Dad is trash, Now it's your turn. Go make a name for yourself. All right? Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. At this time, I would like to invite Skip Olander and Mr. Tim Fay to the stage, please. Our next inductee is a 1962 graduate of RHS, a two-sport athlete, and one whose team was the first to play ball here in the gym at RHS, and was the first inductee in the class of 1962. On the basketball court as a senior, Skip played for RHS Hall of Famer John Canterbury, clearly as a scoring machine. During that year, he set the gym record for points and field goals. Each of his 3 seasons of varsity basketball, he led his team in scoring, was chosen to be on the All-CBC team all 3 seasons, and finished his career with 856 points. In baseball as a senior, Skip pitched consecutive no-hitters, and he led his team to the Class B state tournament championship game. As a senior, he started all 3 state tournament games, and at one point pitched 14 consecutive no-hit games. Here now to present Skip Olander is his close friend and former teammate, Mr. Tim Fay.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to offer my congratulations to all the inductees. Skip and I did not grow up together. We didn't play Little League together. We weren't even in the same town. So I didn't meet him until we were in high school. Our freshman year, 1959, was actually in downtown Rockville. This school wasn't even here. When I did meet Skip, he was the tallest player I had played with to date. And I expected, great, we've got a post player. Didn't really work out that way. He wasn't a post player, liked to shoot from outside. And that worked out great for both of us. He was expected to be a scorer. I was expected to be a rebounder, so we complemented each other. I think his exploits have been well chronicled, so I think I'm going to just talk about a few other incidents that had nothing to do with the game itself. Most of the time, our basketball team was probably about 500. So we had a considerable amount of losses. And if the loss was at an away game, we had plenty of time to contemplate on the way back. We played for Coach John Canterbury, and he had a rule. If you lost the game, nobody talked on the bus on the way back, not even the cheerleaders. We had another memorable game, away game, that was memorable for what happened before the game. The JV game had to be canceled because the gym floor had just been refinished and it was so slippery that it looked like people were going to be badly injured. The school was planning to have a dance that night, so it was decided to have the dance before the basketball game. They invited everybody down out of the stands with their shoes to dance and try to rough up the gym floor. The teams were invited. The cheerleaders were invited. We were all able to dance. This sticks out in my mind because I danced with one of the cheerleaders that night, and I'm dancing with her still after 53 years of marriage. I don't know if we won the game, but I got the girl. One of the things that really is a burr under our saddlecloth is that we never got to the state tournament. We even lost the coin toss in our senior year. We ended up with the same record as another team and lost the coin toss. Our senior year, our baseball team was really good, and we got to the state finals. Came in second. Skip pitched back-to-back no-hitters, and some of my memories of plays in that game are like it happened yesterday. Actually, I can't remember my memories from yesterday, but that game really sticks out. When I heard Skip was going to be inducted, I contacted some of his other teammates and asked for their memories. One of our teammates reminded me that whenever Skip was in the game, there were always a lot of strikeouts, both when he was pitching and when he was in the batter's box. Some other comments. Great stuff, unhittable, great pickoff move, and from one of our opponents, that SOB struck me out, and I can remember just how he did it. We never would have gotten to the state tournament game without Skip Olender. Now, you're probably wondering at this point why he asked me to be his presenter. And I suspect it's because he thought I was the only one of his teammates who still owned a tie. And he was right, but just yesterday, this tie was tying up a tomato plant to a stake in my garden. It is now my pleasure to present Stanley Skip Olender for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Before I start, I'd like to thank my daughter Morgan and my wife for helping me edit my speech. Well, actually, they did all the editing. There I'll start. Good afternoon. I want to thank Scott Smith and the rest of the Hall of Fame committee for the time and effort they put in for this special event. A special thanks to Jim Martello for taking my advice and mentioning my name to the committee. That went over well. Congratulations to all the 2018 inductees and past inductees. This is a very special honor for me. It is also an honor to have Tim Fay, my presenter. Tim was a fellow member and leader of the class of '62. He was vice president, member of the student council, president of the choir, president of the boys octet, delegate to Boys State, on the yearbook committee, and a member of the Royal Ring Dance Committee. We were varsity basketball and baseball teammates. Mr. Fay also started as goalie on the soccer team for 4 years and was captain for 3. I think in his spare time, he helped Mr. Genovese, our head custodian. He has been on all of our reunion committees and even hosted a reunion with his wife, Lynn, also a 1962 graduate. My basketball coach was John Canterbury. What he did for me, I cannot thank him enough. In high school, academics were not my priority, and I was going to fall short of credits to graduate. At the end of the school year, Coach called me into his office and suggested instead of summer school or coming back for another year, I should look into prep school. To be honest, I didn't know anything about prep school. On his own time, he took me down to Cheshire Academy. Then he suggested that I go to Worcester Academy. I ended up at Worcester Academy and spent 2 of the best years of my life there. So my high school career went freshman, sophomore, and my mother told me my junior year would be hard. Junior, senior. There I obtained the academic skills, graduating the top quarter of my class to handle college, and was able to improve as an athlete. My baseball coach was Ron Kozak. He was a catcher at Trinity College and later played minor league baseball for the Pittsfield Giants. Coach Kozak was very knowledgeable about pitching. A big emphasis of his was pitchers must have strong legs. So sometime during each practice, I had to go out into left field, and we had a short white fence, and do sprints. And then at the end of practice, I had to run alongside of my teammates. I was not too crazy about this. Back then, there was no pitch count. I would pitch an entire game on Tuesday and come in relief on Friday. Maybe strong legs were really a good thing. The highlight of my sporting career at Rockville High School was the 1962 baseball tournament. Back then, only the top 16 teams in each division made the tournament. In the quarterfinals, we beat Waterford 1-0. In the semifinals, we beat Southington 2-0. My back-to-back no-hitters were well publicized. What a lot of people don't know is all I did was throw strikes. I didn't walk batters, and we had the best defense in the state. Good combination. Then in the finals against Seymour, we got whacked. I don't remember the score by choice, but they beat us pretty good. And they came with their own families. I mean, with their wives and kids. They looked a lot older than we were. They all had beards. Well, anyway, they were a very good team, and they beat us pretty good. But that's not the end of that story. 30 years later, 1962, I was coaching the Town High baseball team in the Class M state finals at Palmer Field in Middletown. The opponent, Seymour. It was a great game. Many called it the best game of the state finals that year. We won 2-1 on a walk-off hit by Steve Jacobson. It took 30 years to take away the pain of that 1962 loss. My whole life I've been involved in athletics, first as a player at Rockville, then at Worcester Academy, and the University of Connecticut. I even played for Frank McCoy's Vernon Orioles in the summer. During my 35-year tenure at Towne High School, in the Towne High School system, I coached boys and girls basketball, baseball, and volleyball at the junior and high school levels. My time at Towne also included work as athletic director. My coaching career also included a few years at Manchester Community College as baseball and basketball coach. My children, Ryan, Tyler, and Morgan, played basketball throughout their high school career and played 4 years at Division I colleges, graduating in 4 years, I may add. They took my wife Tracy and I on many thrilling adventures. Tracy was inducted into the South Windsor Hall of Fame last year. So committee, thanks for taking the pressure off. She was a much better athlete than me, and my kids claim to get their basketball skill from her. As a player and coach, winning was very important to me. As I age, I have changed dramatically. It's not the wins, but it's the bonds that were formed during my athletic experiences that are most significant to me now. My teammates and I working very hard every day towards a common goal, sharing the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, to steal a quote from the Wild World of Sports. I don't have to see my former teammates often, but when I do, the bond is still there. And I'd like to, before I forget, that's very easy to do. I was blown away out front because there are classmates here of mine. I'd like to have them stand up from the class of 62. Would you please stand up? Some were teammates, others were just fans. I think that's terrific. I hold a very special bond with all the players that played for me. And there's some here tonight, I can't go through it all, but just something that happened the other day. I was in a restaurant and I looked over and this woman looked familiar. It was somebody I know had played for me, and I hadn't seen this person for 15 or 20 years. But I thought she was on my volleyball team. So I went over and I talked, and I said hi, and she said, "Hi, Coach," and she introduced this person to me, the person at the table, as her volleyball coach. And she said, "You know, Coach, that was one of the best experiences of my life." This bond extends to coaches. I was very fortunate to have excellent coaching. D. Rose, my prep school coach, over 40 years ago. He is still very much involved in my life. My son Ryan's middle name is D in his honor. Andy Baylock, who's here today, was my freshman coach at UConn and now works with my son Tyler on his pitching. Andy had a hand in helping Tyler sign a minor league contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. This bond also extends to opposing players and coaches. You always remember those players and coaches you hated playing against because they pushed you to play your best. Respect becomes the bond. As I grow older, the bond grows with others. And so the bond grows today. And I'll end with my favorite saying, life is good. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Now it's my pleasure to invite Stephen English and his dad, Richard English, to the stage, please. Our next inductee is a 1994 graduate, Rockville High School, three-sport athlete, captain of the three sports he played, and one who lettered 9 times in his 4-year career. During his junior soccer season, he helped lead the Rams to the deepest run in the state tournament in over 2 decades. As a senior, he served as team captain and was named to the All-CCC Conference team and was team MVP. Steve had a great senior season in hockey. He and Hall of Famer Keith Miller worked together to forge out a 17-3 record, the first ever CCC East title in hockey for the Rams. And then, in the first game of the tournament, Steve scored a hat trick. I always wanted to be. And Keith, for your hat trick too. After the season came the accolades. He earned the coveted Coaches Award, made the All-CCC Conference team, and was selected to play the CIAC Division III. In baseball, he served as captain twice. Clearly a leader, he also spoke with his performances on the field. Yet for power and average, ran the bases exceptionally well, played solid defense, and was poised. When the dust settled, he was awarded the Martin Fagan Award and was named to the CIAC District 4 All-Star team and actually got to play baseball. He was a member of the Connecticut team that played against the team from Massachusetts. What's it like being here now to present Steve Rembish with Steve's dad, Mr. Richard Rembish. Steve.
Good afternoon. To all of the 2018 inductees, congratulations. Well deserved. It all started when Stephen was in kindergarten in a small western Massachusetts town of Housatonic. Stephen and his friend Sean was he who could slide off the chair first. After a month of going bananas, that was the teacher's word, she called and asked if we would speak to Stephen. After our talk, we set up a base in the backyard so that he could slide away. That was fine, but it seemed that every 2 months we would have to go to Sears and buy new tough-skin jeans. Obviously, the jeans met their match. We are proud of Stephen for his accomplishments both on and off the playing field, but most of all, being a husband to Sarah, an awesome father to Owen and Drew, a son, and a little brother to his sisters, Christine and Lisa. It is now my pleasure, as a father, to present Stephen R. Rembish for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Like a friend and teammate, Keith, says speeches. I'm not one for speeches at all. But first of all, I didn't even write anything down. And thank you, Coach Pino, for mentioning me in Keith's line up there. I appreciate it. I'd like to thank, firstly, my parents, my mother and my father. Like you said, my mother, in order for me to go to bed, I'd want to go out and play. So she'd give me the last 2 minutes of pitching, kicking, or throwing, and then I'd go to bed.
And thank you for being my mother, for pushing me in sports, allowing me to play sports, my schooling and life in general. I want to thank my father for that great speech. Thank you. I remember all that. I remember sliding off the chairs, pretty much getting in trouble. Thank you for that speech. I love it. I'd just like to thank the committee, especially Bob Malta, aka Bullet, for all the things he's done for all of us, and the stuff he did while we played baseball at Eastern Connecticut State University. And I get special thanks to Scott Smith for all that he's done to me, for me, I should say, with baseball, coaching me, pushing me at the college level. I appreciate it, and thank you very much. And to all the other inductees, I feel honored to be inducted with all of you on this day. Other than that, I'd just like to mention my coaches that I had. Soccer, Coach Simon, Coach Green. They're both great coaches. Love playing soccer. They each had different mentalities. Coach Simon was old school, reserved. Coach Green brought some new life. And I think both of them coaching me put me in a better place with soccer, where I could use both old and new. And I love playing under both of them. And Coach Guino for hockey, like he even said, I mean, I just grew up, I was just a pond hockey player. Never played youth hockey, organization hockey. I can remember going out there with mixed matched equipment. Some of the drills, these boys right down here behind me that sit in front of me with their hockey jerseys on were probably better than me that day. I had no skating skill, but I remember when it was time to play hockey, when we scrimmaged, I think that's when he found out that I could actually play some hockey, and Keith, like he said, we were on the same line, my senior year, his junior year. There's some things I remember about hockey. My first goal, my first miss of a goal, I was standing right in front of the goal open net. I flung it up so high, I went over the crossbar, over the glass, and into the net, and I couldn't believe it. But our line, I think, Keith and Jamie, they were the smooth guys. I was the bruiser. If coach wanted me to go out there and knock somebody down, I was in the corners battling. I'd give those guys the goals. I'd get the assists, and they would twirl around with all their skating skills, and I was in the corner just gritting my teeth. Same thing with soccer. Man, I'd run hard, and loved it. And Coach Wheelock, he, like Keith also said, he was a different level, different from my other sports, soccer, hockey, and baseball. He came, he was very intimidating. He taught you the game, taught you how to respect the game, play the game. There were some bus rides where it was very quiet, and he would yell, and he would let you know that if you didn't play and leave your heart on the field, we're running around the soccer field for a long time. I remember those days, and I think all three of those coaches prepared me for my next journey in sports, which was college baseball at Eastern Connecticut State University. And I'd like to thank Coach Alawadi for his presence here today. If he were to come up here and say anything about me, anybody who's 18 and under, you'd probably have to close your ears. But any of these coaches, if they told me to run through the wall, seal home, I would do it. Other than that, I'd just like to thank my family for all showing up, being part of this. My in-laws, I leave for California. Thank you. Other than that, a lot of young faces, what I wanted to say. My niece and nephew, all those kids in the hockey uniforms, my two boys, Owen and Drew. You're not gonna, winning's hard, so you got to put a lot into it, and you're gonna fail a lot. Just keep trying, and you can write your own future. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. My pleasure to invite John Ward and Mr. Jim Belton to the stage, please. Our final inductee this afternoon is a 1980 graduate of RHS. Is a two-sport athlete, one of the few RHS athletes who gained national attention. During the fall season of his junior year, he made significant contributions to a very successful soccer team under Hall of Fame coach Chuck Simon. During the senior season, he wildly changed roles, became an outstanding goalie, thus changed kept RHS in all their matches with his many saves. However, spring rolled around and became one of the most outstanding fielder and athletes in RHS track and field history. Although he specialized in the javelin, he also earned his team many points in the shot put, discus, and skill in the javelin. Skill in the javelin. Truly remarkable. Got people's attention at the national level after sailing through the competition at the state and winning levels. He was all everywhere. He qualified for the Olympic trials in 1984. He still holds, and very likely will continue to hold, the school record in javelin. At dual meets out there on the lower soccer field, lower athletic fields, everything stopped. It was his turn to play. Most of the time, it seemed present John Ward. This is high school track coach.
Thank you, David. I also would like to congratulate all the inductees into the class of 2018. It is my pleasure, before I begin, I just kind of chuckling to myself as we were walking up here. Here is probably one of the best athletes to come through Rockville High School. And I always prided myself as an athlete. The two of us coming up here, obviously older, worn-out athletes. But nevertheless, in our mind, as was mentioned by somebody a little bit earlier, we always think we can do things. But getting on to my friend, John Ward. I've spent 38 years as a teacher here at Rockville High School and a counselor, and 17 years as a track coach working with RHS students. The Rockville community, as everybody here knows, is a very special place with special people. Folks here are tough, competitive athletes, and most of all, and this is something that was always in my mind in the 38 years that I spent here in this school system, they are good folks. The years that I spent with John were some of the best and most interesting years of my life. I still remember the day when I was on the track up on the field working, and up came this gentleman over here with his long blonde hair flying as it did during those days. It's a little shorter now, John. And he came up to me and he says, "Coach, I want to be on a track team." I said, "Well, I says, what do you want to do?" He says, "I don't know, maybe I'll throw the javelin or something." I said, "Okay, there's a javelin right over there. Go ahead and pick it up and throw it." Well, lo and behold, little did I know that he was going to cause me to experience a lot of fame. And John, I do take a lot of credit for what you have accomplished. Sitting in the audience here are a couple of John's former coaches. They worked with John when he was on the college level with the javelin. And as we were chatting a little bit earlier before the program began, they said, "Boy, he was something, wasn't he?" And I said, "Let me tell you folks, John Ward is a unique person. If I didn't have gray hair before I encountered John, he certainly is a person who could cause one to have gray hair. Because of his great accomplishments, and they really were very, very great, John was offered a unique experience to participate in a national competition
throwing a javelin at a national track meet in San Jose, California. And I can still remember that day when John came running up to me and he says, "Hey, coach, I got invited to go to the national championships to throw the javelin." I said, "Whoa, that's good, good stuff." He said, "Can we go?" I said, "John, how are we going to go? That's cost a lot of money to do that." He said, "Don't worry about it. We'll go. We'll figure it out somehow." So lo and behold, we went. And John will probably review with you some of our experiences on that trip going out there. But finally, we got to our destination in San Jose, California, where the national championship javelin, not just javelin, national championship track meet was taking place. And John, being who he is, and again, if you don't know him intimately, trust me, he's a unique individual. And so off we went. John and I went on a trip. And when you go on a trip with John, trust me, you are on a trip. So after many delays, we finally got to San Jose, California, where this track meet was taking place. And one of my jobs, as it turned out, was not just to guide John and his javelin throwing and techniques, but lo and behold, because of that long flowing blonde hair that he possessed during those days, my biggest job was trying to keep all the females away from John. I said, "John, over here, focus." And so we came down to our competition, and this is how it went. And with the competitiveness of this young man, at that time young man, I think in reference he's still a young man, this is how it went. It's something that you would dream about happening. I want to just read this because it's very didactic the way this happened. So, as I recall, we had to throw the javelin during qualifying meets, and John threw the javelin 203 feet. There were two other athletes who threw the javelin 204 feet and 205 feet. We kept rotating turns of throwing. Then things happened where we had to change things and deal with it in a reverse order. So we were down to 3 athletes. One of the athletes threw the javelin 213 feet. And another one threw it 214 feet. And we were down to the absolute final throw for the championships. And John turned to me, as he would, and said, "Coach, don't worry, I got this." And lo and behold, he threw the javelin, and he threw it 215 feet. I was ecstatic, again, taking all the credit for it. I was ecstatic about his accomplishments, and I said, "John, do you know what you just did?" In a very nonchalant manner, he said, "Yeah, I just won a national championship." I said, "Oh, okay." And that's who John is. But let me just apart from his athletic accomplishments for a minute to speak to John the person. John does march to the beat of a different drummer. He's extremely competitive. Actually, he thrives on competition. He's a very happy-go-lucky person, he's extremely gregarious. I used to love to watch him come to track practice as he would walk on the field filled with enthusiasm, approaching each practice as if it were a competition. He is a person who I was fortunate to coach, and along with that, he was fortunate to be involved with such a close family. His mother is here today. I can still remember all of the track practices where if John didn't do well, it was my fault. If he did well, it was his accomplishments. But she was there all the time supporting him, and not just him, the whole family. John, to this day, still practices his craft. Not sure how this is going to happen, but John still practices his craft. He had an unfortunate experience. So here, standing in front of you, is a super athlete and an old retired athlete. And just in closing, I just recently, as you can probably guess, had rotator cuff surgery. And I was talking with my orthopedic surgeon. He said, "Jim, how do you think you ended up wearing out your rotator cuff?" I said, "Well, I played a lot of tennis in my life." And I said, also as a track coach, I was really involved with javelin throwing. And I said, so that probably added to it. And I said, and I was very fortunate to have on my team at one time a terrific athlete. And as a result, I ended up probably overthrowing javelin over the couple of years that I worked with this gentleman. And the orthopedic surgeon said to me, he says, well, in retrospect, do you think that was worth it? So with that, it is now my pleasure to present John Ward for induction into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. So John,
I'm not great with these speech things either. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee. Congratulations to my fellow inductees, and thank you for the honor of being selected for the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Started out playing soccer. Had a great time playing soccer. Chris Green, one of the other former inductees that are here, and Steve Emerson, who are both here, were both teammates of mine. Great job with you guys, playing with you guys. I want to thank Coach Wheelock. He was never my coach, and maybe for a good reason. That's the reason why I threw the javelin. 2 different times I tried out in order to be able to be on the baseball team and just couldn't cut it. And kind of gave up on that. The team sport thing wasn't exactly my thing. And like Coach said, I kind of go to a different drum. I do want to also thank Paul Gilligan, who was one of our captains on the track team. In, I believe it was spring of my sophomore year, we did what they called the President's Athletic Challenge, and it was a softball throw. I ended up throwing a softball 112 yards. Paul looked at me and said, "You're going to go on a javelin team." And I said, "What's a javelin?" So he ended up introducing me to Coach, and the rest is history at that point. There's a couple of different coaches I want to thank that are out in the audience besides my coach here. Coach Youngs, a gentleman who I met my junior year down at the Boston Bakery, actually buying bakery goods. And we started talking and found out that he was a nationally and world ranked javelin thrower and taught me a lot. I also have Coach Kowicki and Coach Kelleher, who are my 2 coaches from college that are out there when I was at Central. I want to thank my mom and dad. One minute. They sacrificed a lot. Just about every meet that I went to from my college years on, if it was capable for them to get there, they got there. I can remember the first meet that I had in college. It was at the Westfield Relays. It was the end of March. We had driven up the camper. Everybody was in it, and it was a blizzard. And that was the first meet they came to. And every meet that was within the New England region, Mom and Dad were there. I appreciate that. Throwing in college, I ended up, my best throw in college was 260 feet and some change, which I had thrown at the, thank you. I had thrown that at the IC4A relays in 1984, which qualified me to be able to be invited to the Olympic trials. Highlight. 4-time All-American, 3 times in Division II, and once in Division I. In order to become a Division I All-American, because I was from a Division II school, I had to be either in first or second place in that year's event, and then you got invited to be able to be part of the Division I. And Coach Kelleher and I went out to Eugene, Oregon, and I ended up, I believe it was the 5th American. They take the top 6. So that was a highlight of my career also. One of the other, I believe it was one of the other people that were up here earlier, said you can't continue sometimes. Don't believe that. I'm going to be 57 years old this year. And 2 years ago, and the 3 years ago, 2014, 2015, I was ranked number 1 in my class, the 50 to 54-year-old, in the Masters, and was ranked number 1. So don't believe you're too old to be able to do things. Just keep doing it, and if that's what you enjoy, get out there and do it. Bob Youngs is a perfect example. 80-something years old, and the man's still throwing a javelin. Amazing. I want to thank my kids, both Hannah and Kayla. Kayla's what got me back into throwing. I didn't touch a javelin for almost 25 years probably. And 5 years ago, she decided she wanted to go out and try out for the Southington High School track team. She wanted to throw javelin, shot put, disc like her dad did. I said, that's great, I'll teach you. So we got out, we started throwing, and she said, you should get into doing it yourself. And I said, what am I gonna do? Where do you do that? And then I started looking into it, found out there's masters meets that are all over the place that you could qualify for, and that's where I'm continuing my career at this point. I want to thank my wife for all her help, going to different things. One last thing I want to expound upon. Coach had talked about going out to Santa Clara to that meet. That meet was ridiculous. We took off from Bradley, and we circled Detroit for about 6 hours. It was the first traffic controller strike they ever had in 1980, and we were stuck up in the air. We landed at about 2 o'clock instead of 6 or 5, and they put us up. Next day, first class, out we went. We get there, coach's bags were nowhere to be found. No clothes. Clothes on his back, and that was it. They ended up back in Hartford when we got back. My javelin got lost. It ended up showing up about 15 minutes before the finals, and the rest is kind of history. I can't try to remember his name now. Mr. Pedersen, I believe it was a gentleman I was competing against, and we went back and forth 3 or 4 different times. And Coach was right. The last throw, always on the last throw. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. All my friends that are out there that I competed with and were on my teammates, and I appreciate this honor. Thank you very much.
Truly, another amazing induction ceremony. Once again, the committee congratulates the inductees. A few housekeeping items. Bear with me, please. Once again, please consider joining the Hall of Fame committee. We're always looking for assistance. Nominations for the Hall and the Williams Exceptional Service Award may be made by contacting any committee member. Please continue to support the athletic teams. Consider getting involved with the Rams Booster Club, very important. And for more information, please contact our board director, Jeff Bell. We have to thank a lot of people, not in any particular order, but Superintendent McGrady, thank you for coming. Chairman of the Board of Education, Andy Fisher. Jeff again, AD, thank you. Not to be underestimated, the RHS custodial staff, very important. Their assistance throughout the year, and especially this afternoon. The RHS flag department, they made good years in the corsages, and Dan's and David, elementary, made our class get a chance out in the just entrance to the gym as the ball in the class. Emily's Catering Group, Forestville, Connecticut, for providing food once again. Nick Fisner for hanging all of those Hamilton plaques and pictures in the lobby display area. I want to thank the Women Police Explorers for their help overseeing the parking area, and the members of the committee for all their work all year, their dedication to make this a truly quality and amazing place. A reminder to the honorees, please pick up all of your favorite display taker items and take home. With that, concludes our ceremony for 2018. Once again, congratulations to the inductees.